Hi, I'm Liz Conway, and I'm here with Travis Pollert, one of our local filmmakers, for a Filmmaker Spotlight, here to talk about his film, Open Hearts. Thanks for being here today.
Liz, thanks so much for having me.
Great. Well, let's get right into it. I'd love to hear more about your film, Open Hearts.
So Open Hearts is a feature documentary that follows an international group of nonprofits and doctors and surgeons from around the world who've come together at St. Damien's Pediatric Hospital in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, to help the hospital complete 12 open heart surgeries on children inside of the course of a single week. And through that experience, through that kind of week in life, you kind of get a sense of this long-term relationship, this long-term effort, and how what they're doing is both having a drastic life on the children and the families, but they're also empowering and raising up the staff and facilities at St. Damien and ultimately Haiti itself to hopefully be able to one day be self-sufficient.
That's incredible. That's really, really great work. So tell me how you got involved in this project.
Years ago, we screened a film at the Sugar Falls Documentary Film Festival, and they are just a wonderful festival that we have here locally. And they did a couple of screenings outside of the normal festival year, and one of which resulted in just some really great conversations, as their audiences generally do. And that led to me just sort of having dinner with a guy named Ken Thogel and Dr. Jeff Kemp, both of whom appear in the film. And as I got to meet them and know them and learn about what they were doing, there was just something special about the work they were doing with trying to coordinate this effort to empower the Haitians and Haiti, because in it wasn't just this sort of good deed. It wasn't this effort of, oh, we can do this one thing. It was, we can empower, we can help them to do what they're capable of. And the way they saw the Haitians were always seeing them as people, and as people who are capable, and they just needed resourced. And that's a simple thing to say. It's really complicated to follow through, and they have done that. And so we just started following them and just sort of, kind of trying to generate some footage and some of the things we were doing, kind of hoping to help out, make a promo video and stuff. But like, in the process, there was this story that emerged in front of our lens that we weren't expecting. And we were both deeply impacted by that process, but also, especially going down to Haiti and getting through that experience. In the course, we did our best to just sort of be very open with our cameras and just tried to shoot first, ask questions later a little bit. Very verite, very fly on the wall documentary, and tried to understand what we were doing. And so when we got back and we thought we had something, and we were like, wow, this is a lot more than we thought, and we started digging through the footage and really realized like there's a beautiful story here that we think we need to share. And then from that point, Gift of Life and Akron Children's, everybody's been a great partner to help the film succeed, but it did take us years we ended up re-editing the film so many times. So that was a very long, drawn-out process, because it took us a long time as a small company in order to figure out how to put it all together. So that's the short version. But we never set out to make a feature film. And, I think it was just really being inspired by and being curious about who they are and what they were doing and how they were doing it. And asking questions and finding ways to ask questions with our cameras. And that process was really messy. And I highly recommend it.
That's great. So you said you never set out to make a feature. At what point in the process, was it while you were there capturing everything, where you're like, we got something here? At what point did you realize, like, this isn't a promo video anymore? Like, this is bigger than just a little seed that it started from?
My co-director, Jacob Castelli, and I went down to Haiti, and we were filming. And we were originally going to take a 3-person team, and a lot of things changed. We ended up having to move the trip by 6 months because of the political unrest. The Father Rick is the character in the film, but he runs the hospital system, and he built the hospital system down there. And he basically said, "You're not coming," because there were things going on in October of 16, and so we ended up going in January of 17. And so we get down there, and we're trying to be really open, and we're just following. And they're like, "Hey, we didn't even drop our bags really." And they were like, "Hey, do you want to go to this funeral for these kids that we don't have a place to put?" And we're like, "Yeah." And so we we just said yes. Whatever they said, we were like, yes, we'll do it. And so we hopped in the van, or we hopped in this truck, and we drive an hour to this mass grave site that people were living in, and they did this funeral, and it was just really, so we were having this sort of unplanned major life experience for us, like really out of our comfort zone as far as what normal is for us, and right from the get. And it was a few days into the trip, right? And we'd been trying to do that, just sort of really open-minded and trying to say yes, trying to be very listening, have very listening and very open expectations, and to try to have our cameras ready to move, but also not to be invasive, right? And that's a very fine line where you don't want your cameras to affect what's going on, especially there's major stakes in happening. And so we're trying to balance all of that, and a couple of days go on, and as one of the things that you see in the film is that there's, the logistics in order to pull this off is really cool, actually. It's really fascinating. There's a lot of logistical pieces and cables and wires, and everything has to be coordinated, and there were shipping containers that were sent down, and it's not all of it was where it should be, and so that caused a lot of concern as they were getting ready for surgery. And so one of the things I know is that we were watching, and there was this story emerging, but we had no idea how it was going to go. And Liz, as the first girl who was walking in for open heart surgery, they did on Sunday. They did 2 closed heart procedures, and as she was walking into ready, getting prepped and walking in, and they were able to come through and, make it so that was going to be A-level, safe, ready to go surgery, and to be in that moment where there were tears and hugs, and it was just to be a part of that was one of the most memorable moments of my life, and that's a moment that we are fortunate enough to have been able to share with people through this film. And I think when that happened, as we were, just in this place of both having so much information thrown at us as far as experience go that we can't process, so you're just taking it in, and you're also trying to be extremely open and listening, and then kind of culminating a few days into that with that moment. It's like that moment was when it was like, this is something that has to be shared, but we didn't know what that meant, and we'd never made a feature film before. Like, this was not, we're like, oh cool, it's like there's a lot of, it's different, right? Like getting the mechanics of story and the structuring and the pieces to work when you try to take what you've learned in the short form and you apply it to the long form. It's a different game. And so we knew we didn't know what we were doing, but we knew we had to push forward. And so, again, just tried to fit, we filmed out the week, and we tried to do our best. And then we went back and, spent a couple months looking, and that was when we talked to Ken and Jeff and them and said, hey, this is something we'd like to do more with, but we can't do it without your support. And they were like, whatever you need. And it was like, and that's just who they are, the open and the enabling us in the process. It's just to be a part of that community. And that's, everybody, so many, and being aligned in that culture. So I guess, you kind of asked, I think for Jacob and I, that moment when, they were finding the light, and they were figuring that out, and Wiley being a part of that was for me the moment when it was like, okay, we have a story, there's a lot more story to tell, but we have a story. And that was really the beginning of really looking at it, doing more. Yeah, that's incredible.
One of the images that really stuck out to me was kind of that round table with all the doctors and these huge questions of literally life or death for these children, and for you to be just a fly on the wall, like you said, just taking it in, just listening, and just trying to process these huge conversations that they're having. That had to be a lot to take in. How do you process that? How do you take that from in the moment, capturing it with your camera, and then looking at that footage afterwards and processing it into the film that we have now?
It was the editorial in that scene was was difficult because, we shot it with a couple of cameras, but I will say it's like filming it was very difficult because it was dark and it was low light and had all the kind of, they're doing this projector and so they've turned the lights off, but we're filming it, and the more than all of the technical issues, right? You're in this room and so what it is, it's a surgical conference. And what it is a meeting of all the doctors and the hospital staff and all of the stakeholders of like the ICU people, everybody that is required to make this surgical mission work, right? And they're all in the room. And there are people from America and Haiti and Italy and Martinique and France, and also, you have an international group of people, and they're presenting all the information of all of the cases that they've screened, of the top cases that they've screened, which they started with 300 and they went down to 80 and then 20, and they're looking at like the top 20, 25, and they're trying to figure out which 12 can we do surgery on. And the thing is it seems like a very clinical decision of like, oh, well, clearly these are the 12 that we should do, and they should all agree, but they don't. The doctors had different opinions about who should go, and that was, and you realize that the decision they're making is going to impact who lives and dies. And it's this giant weight, but then some of the things, they're also trying to balance, it's not just a matter of the kids that need it the most. They have this problem of like, for instance, when they come through surgery and they go back to the PICU, the pediatric intensive care unit, they have to recover. They need the ventilators there for the kids. And so if you have a child who's high risk and they do make it through surgery fine, and then they come through, well, it's possible, if everything's not perfect, it's possible they're going to tap that ventilator for the rest of the mission, which means they're going to compromise the team's ability to follow through and to actually kind of save 12. So you're kind of balancing, well, some of these kids could go elsewhere and get this, because none of this, it doesn't happen, this surgery isn't available in country. You can't do this surgery, the people and the resources aren't there, they have to be shipped out. And so, this is it. And so in these types of missions, these are it. And so the stakes are really high, and for you to understand the balance of like, no, we are trying to do the best. And it's a really, like just being in the room, going back to your question, is like extremely intense. And I know Jake and I and other people I've talked to, is just like, you're just trying to be there and be quiet, but you're trying to point your camera and you're capturing. And I think, re-editing that over and over and over again, I feel like the way the scene landed is a good expression of our experience, which is the chaos that you can kind of feel mixed with the care and the passion, because there's also things where some of these doctors, the doctors have all spent time with some of these kids, so some of them are really, they want to see their kid, they want to see them win, because they want to see them live.
Yeah.
And you don't fault them for that. And so, it's just a big scene, and I think it was a great, because everybody cares. Like there's no bad guy in that room.
Yeah.
And the arguments even they're within a team. It's not, and I think they're very good at what they do. And so it's an interesting thing to be a part of, because these are not easy decisions. And I think that scene really lets you feel that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I would love to kind of bring it back home and talk about the response that your film has gotten right here in Northeast Ohio. So we've seen it at the Cleveland International Film Festival, the Chagrin Valley Film Festival, and we've won some awards, which is great. So I'd love for you to talk about kind of the response that you've gotten bringing this film home and showing it to Northeast Ohio and beyond.
Yeah, it's been, it's a very personal film for me in a lot of ways, and the process of making it has been, at moments, any big project like this that you take on, I think everybody's got that similar story where it's like, it was very hard, but no, this was very hard. And I think there were moments of the post-production process that we would, you just look at it and cry because it's not what you think it should be yet, or like you feel like nobody's gonna watch this. And Liz, I'll tell you, it's like, to share this and especially to share it locally at Cleveland, at the Cleveland International Film Festival and the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival, has meant so much because over and over again we are seeing audiences around the world, really, festivals around the world react to this film in a way that they see the point. And it's not just about heart surgery. Dr. Santoro and his team are amazing surgeons, and when you watch the film, it's like you get the art and the precision that they're able to execute. But it's like it's the ensemble of everybody, and that we're all in this together. And I feel like audiences have really grabbed onto this thing of like, there's something in this that is worth looking at, and for us to play at the Cleveland International Film Festival and Chagrin Documentary Film, these are high caliber. We got I had a geek out moment in the fall because we were in Chagrin and that was so exciting. And I opened the program and I see Open Hearts, and then kind of right next to it I see the Rescue, which is by Jimmy Chin and Chai Vasarely, giant filmmakers, like heroes of mine. And, of course, R and O are not that far apart, so it's like, that's why we were close. But it was just sort of like, I'm playing in the same festival as them, and it just meant something, you know. And I think that's the same with Cleveland. And so to not only play, but for the audience to kind of honor us with the Local Heroes Award at Cleveland, and for the Rotary Service Award at Chagrin, and then among others, it's just been really validating to feel like that the story that we've shared, that we experienced, and that we were able to share, that people see the value in being able to relate to each other. Because I feel like that's what the film is about. It's like, we're all in this together. And I think that is the fun part to me, is that is through it all. It's like, I think it's a story that it's just a small part. It's a small part of a bigger story. It's a week in the life. It's a week. You're just there for a week. You're not even getting the whole story. It's a big week,
though, Travis.
It's a big week, and through that week, you get to see a lot. It's a window. You get to keyhole. You get to look through and see this bigger relationship and this bigger impact, right? But it's still just that, and it's wonderful in that. But I think that the audience has really kind of caught on to the fact that it's about more, and that how we relate to each other, and like, if I want to help you, it's like the first thing the goal needs to be, not that I need to help you, but you know what I mean? It's like that orientation needs to be, well, first off, do you actually need help? And second off, what is it that you need to be empowered? It's not about my good deed, right? It's a matter of, well, you're trying to do this. Well, what are there ongoing resources and steps in order to do that? And that's the big puzzle shift. It's a long-term sustainable. We're already connected, so that's just the starting point, And I feel like talking with audiences and stuff, it's like it just warms my heart, because I feel like they have really they really resonate with those themes that are really close to my heart. So
that's amazing. Well, tell the people where we can see Open Hearts, and let us know how we can check it out and support you and support this amazing film.
Thank you. So Open Hearts is being distributed in the United States and Canada, and so we're still working on international. So you can find it almost anywhere that films are sold, iTunes and Amazon, all of those good things. If you go to our website, openheartsfilm.com, it'll have a list of all of that. It is, here in a couple weeks, here in February of 2022, we're at right now, the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival is running a virtual encore series, and Open Hearts will be playing for the February edition of that. So if you're doing that with the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival and going to watch all those amazing films, you can see it there for the month of February in 22. And other than that, check out our website, openheartsfilm.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis, for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, and thanks for being here.
Liz,
hope you had
so
fun.
much. You were awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.